How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about SOFI, which pulled off another green day, being up 2.37% on the day. There also was a recent press release that came out as far as for a price target upgrade. And like I promised on Twitter, I will be talking about the reverse stock split as well. So I won't waste any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder, you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is a technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support. We want to know resistance. We want to know what it looks like in a bearish case scenario and as well as in a bullish case scenario. And then we're going to be going on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information. The reason why this is important because it does have an impact on the way the stock performs. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know the buying and the selling behavior on the retail side and as well as on the institutional side. And then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to do a technical analysis for SOFI. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $6.91, being up 2.37%. On the low, it tested $6.84, and then on the high, testing $7.24. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 60.238 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 65.042 million shares. So we did have below average volume on the day, but we still saw some strength in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, you can see from the RSI down below, it is right at 50. And then when we take a look at our moving averages here on the chart, we are below the 200-day, the 100-day, the 50-day, and we did close above the 21-day EMA. And when we take a look at our moving averages on the chart, it is clear to see that SOFI isn't a bear market, but we're seeing a lot of momentum. So we could see right away for the past 4 trading days, SOFI has been able to make higher lows. So this is very bullish alongside with higher highs. And as far as for the high that we saw today, it was at $7.24. So the fact that we were able to close above the 21-day EMA, which is at $6.65, does give SOFI an interesting setup going into tomorrow. If we see some strength inside of the markets, of course I want to see us getting above 724 and then seeing if we can make a move to around 770. I think this is very doable and it's not too much to ask, and this can really get us here to the 50-day or to around $7.89, and let's see if we can get that test around $8. We also are fully aware that there's a gap that needs to be filled to the upside as well, right here around 848. So that's one thing you're going to want to keep in mind. Now, if we decide to consolidate, then we want to see some strength with SOFI being able to stay above at least around $6.20. If it breaks through this level, we know there's a gap that needs to be filled to the downside, which I pointed out in the previous video as well, which is right here around the $5.70 range. So keep an eye on all of these areas, know what the market conditions look like, because we know SOFI has been moving with the market, but for the most part, definitely solid performance considering how volatile it was today. Now let's take a look at the short interest information. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for SOFI. So green rows indicate new positions, while red rows indicate closed positions. So when we take a look at the recent filings for the 16th, we're going to be focusing on the ones that are the most noticeable. So we have Weatherby Asset Management Inc. that purchased 13,360 shares, and we see Barclays PLC that went with a put value of just over 2.5 million shares, and also as well you can see for shares only it looks like just over 2.12 million as well. And then looking at Concentric Capital Strategies LP, they purchased 26,700 shares. BBR Partners LLC with 15,743 shares. And as we go down even more, again, we're focusing on the ones that are the most noticeable. We have Algert Global LLC with 20,065 shares, and J. Goldman & Co. with the put value of 22,500 shares. Atria Wealth Solutions Inc. with 127,318 shares. Magnetar Financial LLC with 143,966 shares. And then we have Royal Bank of Canada with puts with the value of those shares being at 28,400. And we have Shea Capital LLC with 40,000 shares. As we go down further, you can see there's some more closed positions. We have Shunfield Strategic Advisors LLC with that put with a value of 100,000 shares. And Bank of America Corp, you can see the put with the value of those shares being at 1.95 million and just over that. And scrolling down even further, let's see if we could see some more here. We have Balzani Asset Management LLC that purchased 363,800 shares. So now when we take a look at the short interest, the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 39.67%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 13.74 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 85,000, updated 5 minutes ago, and then for the short borrow fee rate, it is at 5.81%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 12th, it was at 39.83, and then for the close of the 13th being at 39.67. And then taking a look at the short interest percentage of the float being at 19.87%, that shows us right away that SOFI does have short squeeze potential. Now let's move on to the order flow distribution.
Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for SOFI. So we see on the inflow, it was at 71.97 million, and then on the outflow, it's at 79.96 million. So we actually had an outflow day. Taking a look at the breakdown, on the large, it was 0.94. On the medium, it was 42.82. And then on the small, it was 28.21. Taking a look at the outflow side, you can see on the large, it was 0.93. On the medium, it is 48.19. And then on the small, it is 30.84. Taking a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you can see for today, May the 16th, we had that inflow of 0.01 million. Analyzing the numbers even further for the small scale orders that tends to represent the retail side, you can see that we had more selling than we had buying. And then when we take a look at what happened on the medium, we had more selling than we had buying. And then when we take a look at the large, which represents whales, institutions, and funds, we had more buying than we had selling, but it was still fairly close. And then when we take a look at the turnover ratio, it was at 6.60%. So this is a consistent range for SOFI. We know it is a volatile stock and it normally trades at high volume. But one thing that we have to be aware of though, these price target upgrades have been coming out. And of course, in the final thoughts, we're going to be talking about the hot topic that's been going around, the reverse split. So let's get into it right now. So for my final thoughts for SOFI, let's go over the recent press releases that came out today. So we have it here. SOFI Technology shares rise after Piper Sandler upgrade. Shares were up 4.5% in Monday afternoon trading after Piper Sandler upgraded the company stock to overweight from neutral. The investment firm also lowered SOFI's price target to $10 from $12. Trading volume stood at nearly 45 million shares against a daily average of about 57.6 million shares, and it also ended up being at around 60 million shares on the day. Another press release that came out, we have the CEO Anthony Noto continuing to load up on shares, and as far as for the price that he paid, it was around the $6.50 range. Now let's talk about the reverse stock split. In my personal opinion, I do not like it. Usually when a company does a reverse stock split, this is a bearish move. What they're trying to do is artificially inflate the price of the stock. And I don't think this is a good idea, especially for a young growth stock like SOFI. SOFI has to prove that they could be consistently profitable. This is very crucial. If they're not able to do this, then of course I feel for short sellers, they will take advantage of the downside and the volatility that's in the play. And of course, this is not great for investors. But if you are a long-term investor and you have high conviction inside of the play, then this should not concern you. But at the same time, it is definitely not a good thing. Also, I know many of you who are investors like to actually go in with covered calls. So knowing that you're going in with covered calls, if they end up doing a reverse split, let's say if they do like a 10-to-1 and so forth, that's not going to be helpful for you. And the reason why it won't be helpful, because you will have less shares. And the fact that you have less shares and maybe maybe you probably bought SoFi at a higher price, you already lose some income right away. So that's part of the reason why I really don't like this move. But we do know that there's a good amount of time that is going to be coming up later on as far as for July. Yeah, I know it's not that far off, but there's still a lot of opportunities for this stock to move up further before then. But what I would do, in my personal opinion, I would start trading the hell out of this thing. So if you are invested in SoFi and you've been invested for a very long time, then you have a good idea of what the price action is. So whether you want to go in with calls or go with puts, since you already know what the volatility is like, take advantage of those opportunities and make some money. Think outside of those covered calls that you usually do. And the reason why I want to emphasize this strategy, at least if they end up doing the reverse split and you do decide, well, you know what, I'm going to be holding on to my shares, you can make some money in the process. The same thing that you were doing when you were selling those covered calls on your SoFi stock. So again, just a strategy that you want to consider. But we also have to take into consideration many companies who are bullish on their stock that they usually do a stock split. We've seen this happen with Tesla. We've also seen that Google's going to be doing it. We see with Amazon doing it. So the fact that SoFi is taking this route does raise a lot of questions. I hope that we get a lot more information on that, because like I said, if they can't deliver consistently, if they decide to do this, it is definitely not good for investors. Now let's talk about the price action. So we did have a close above the 21-day EMA, which is around $6.65. So if we have continued momentum, I want to see sometime this week if SoFi can get to $8. We also do know there's a gap that needs to be filled to the upside around $8.48. But if we have that buying pressure slowing down, that's where I could see some consolidation, and preferably I'd want to see it with SoFi staying above $7. I feel that is not too much to ask. Yes, it did close below 7 today, but if the momentum continues, I don't see why I can't do that, especially since we've been forming higher lows for the past 4 trading days. If we end up having some profit taking or some selling pressure, don't forget, we also have a gap that needs to be filled to the downside right around $5.78. So this is the kind of play that you do not want to be naive about. And with these price targets and with all of this news coming out, the volatility will continue inside of this play. But one thing that is very clear though, you should have a good idea as far as what it looks like to the upside and as well as for the downside. Now come up with your game plan, pay attention to the market conditions, and you should be able to make some bank on it. Also, we went on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership, we can see institutions are continuing to load the boat on shares. And then when we take a look at the short interest information, it does continue to have short squeeze potential. There are many shorts who are vested in this play. So that is why doing your homework and having a strategy is very crucial, especially since we do have this news about the reverse split floating around, but do know it needs to come to a vote as far as approving that particular item. I think it was around proposal number 5 when I was reviewing the document. So I hope you guys remember what I talked about in regards to the reverse split. Again, it is a bearish move, and SoFi definitely has some explaining to do, and I feel like they need to provide some more information to their shareholders why they want to pursue this endeavor, because at the end of the day, this particular move just provides an artificial pump in the stock, and that's not beneficial for long-term investors that are looking to see upside in the play, especially if they do not deliver. It just makes the whole situation worse. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see how the stock performs going into tomorrow. We'll talk soon.